What if you could work on your life goals without having to work harder? What if you could work on multiple goals without struggling? What does that look like to you? Hi, my name is Peyton. I'm someone who runs a full time coaching business while also working on personal life goals, such as getting healthier in my body and relationships. I've learned to play the piano and I'm studying two foreign languages at the same time. I'm able to work on multiple life goals without struggling because I believe that your life goals should be enjoyable and they need not feel like this huge struggle. In this episode, I want to share with you four things that have helped me to stop struggling with my life goals and how I have learned to work on them in a relaxed and peaceful way. And yes, I said peaceful, so this means no hustle, there's no anxiety or feeling overwhelmed. This will be worth your time if you want to stop struggling with your life goals and actually enjoy working on them. If you're ready, let's get into it. Let's start by talking about the struggle when it comes to working on goals. Here's a question. Where did you learn to struggle with your goals? I'm sure you'll agree that as kids, we absolutely had no problem or we didn't even know what it meant to struggle. There were no limitations in our mind. As kids, we were certain that we could do anything. However, as we grew up, we contracted certain limitations. We created certain limiting beliefs both about ourselves and the world around us. And one such common limiting belief, which most people created, was this idea of struggling. Growing up, most of us received this idea that in order to succeed in life, you have to struggle. We heard things such as, unless you work hard, you won't achieve your goals. We received this message from well-meaning parents and teachers from a young age. We were conditioned to believe that we have to struggle with what we are doing, only then can we achieve those goals. It seems like a radical idea to conceive the possibility of enjoying what you do. You'd rather not enjoy working on your goals because this idea seems too far-fetched for some people. I remember for the longest time, I believed that there was nobility in suffering. I believe that the more I suffered, the worthier I was of my success. In other words, I didn't deserve success unless I suffered. And it didn't help that every pop culture reference that I had, TV shows, movies, even books such as Hero's Journey, which are great pieces of fiction, but to a young, impressionable mind, it can affirm the belief that if you want to achieve your goals, you better suffer. Suffering was sold to most of us as the price that we have to pay in order to achieve our goals. The idea that you can enjoy and need not suffer while working on your goals was laughable even to me for the longest time. Everyone has to pay the price, I reasoned. I was taught that successful people sacrifice their peace of mind, their life, their comfort in order to achieve their goals. So who was I to argue with this great truth? Well, through my experience, I've learned that even though suffering may be normal or expected or conventional, it's an unnecessary ingredient while working on your goals. And my entire coaching philosophy revolves around this idea that you can work on what matters to you without suffering. It's simple. If you're suffering, you have somehow bought into this popular idea that's sold to us by society. Just because something is popular doesn't mean that it is right. Here's an example. Did you know that just 100 years ago, life insurance policy was considered to be illegal? So just because the popular idea is that you have to suffer in order to achieve your goals, it doesn't have to be your truth. It certainly isn't mine any longer. I have tried working with the let's suffer and sacrifice mentality for almost a decade of my life, and it did me no favors. I was in my worst physical and mental state. I had poor relationships, and I was unfulfilled with my life. After I discarded the idea of suffering, my physical and mental health have improved drastically. I have better relationships, and I feel fulfilled with the work that I do and how I work on my goals. And now I want to discuss with you how you can eliminate the struggle of working on your goal. I'm going to assume that you have at least one life goal that you're currently working on. If you don't have any idea and you would want some extra help, you can download my free audio training on how to find meaningful goals. The link for that is mentioned in the description box below. Let's say you want to get healthier in your body. Maybe you've been feeling more stressed of late and you're thinking of starting your own workout practice. Tell me if this is how you would start working on this goal. Maybe you get this idea of, I should get healthier. Next, you may enroll in a gym and start going. After a couple of days, you start finding it incredibly difficult to keep going. Your body feels sore, your mind convinces you that skipping one day is not going to be a big deal. After all, you've been going for a couple of days, so you can miss going today. And then it happens. The momentum you have built up till then goes away. When you miss that first day, it's downhill from there. Before you know it, you've simply paid for a whole year of gym and gone only for a couple of days. Now, you can put this exact way of working for any other goal. Let's say you want to learn a new skill. You sign up for a class. You're excited for a couple of days. And then after that, you seem to find it difficult to show up for your online sessions or study by yourself. So why does this happen? Whether it's getting fit, learning a new skill, creating a new habit, or getting out of an old one, it's easier to start working on something, but it becomes difficult to keep going. Well, at least it may seem so initially. After a good amount of practice, Newton's first law of motion, that is the law of inertia, kicks in, which states a body in motion stays in motion. The trouble, however, may be to reach the staying in motion part, which is nothing but automaticity. That is, to stick with your efforts. This sticking with your efforts is nothing but being disciplined. Now, if you're still here, believe me, I'm not going to suggest only positive thinking to work on your goal. So don't be cheesed off by hearing the word disciplined just yet. Now, I'm not a fan of toxic positivity which says you have to push yourself and sacrifice your soul to reach your goals, because what would be the point of that? Think about it. If all you need to do is work hard to achieve your goals, then why are so many hardworking, good intentioned people still struggling with their goals? In my opinion and experience, you could work extremely hard and still not achieve your goals or feel fulfilled with yourself. And maybe because you're working hard on the wrong things. Wrong as in goals that don't truly matter to you. So how do you work on your goals without struggling? Here's what I have found to be true while working on my life goals. There are only two things that you control when it comes to your goals. Everything else is out of your control. First is it's up to you to decide what goals you want to work on. And second, you get to choose how you want to work on your goals. Everything else is out of your control. You don't get to control when you will make it, or whether your loved ones will support you, or whether you'll be successful with your goals. You only get to choose what you want to work on and how you want to work on those goals. Now, while you get to choose your goals and decide how to work on your goals, you cannot predict with certainty if or when you will achieve those goals and whether it will look exactly like how you imagined. Now, don't mistake this for being less ambitious or not wanting to achieve your goals. I want to be very clear when I say that, of course, the whole point of working on goals is one hopes to achieve their goals. Yes, but to quote an example from the Bhagavad Gita, you're only entitled to your labor, but not entitled to the fruits of your labor. Here's what most people do when they start working on their goals. A lot of people start working on their goals by being excited about it, which is great. Then they start doing a few things, which is also great. But soon they stop because they get tired and discouraged, something that we discussed earlier. Now I'd like to break these two things that you control that will put a stop to all the unnecessary struggle that you are going through while working on your goals. The first step is to look at the goals you're pursuing. Ask yourself, are they really your goals that you want to work on? If you want my free audio training on choosing meaningful goals, download it from the description box below. Here's what I thought my life was all about. I'd finish college, get a high paying job, get married, have kids, give them a good life, buy a house, buy a car, have enough for retirement, and die peacefully. Now, absolutely nothing wrong with this idea of life if it fulfills you. But for me, it didn't work. It didn't satisfy my creative desires. I knew I wanted to do more. Somewhere while working, I started to question the life I was living and I wanted to create more. Of course, I needed to pay my bills, have a personal life, buy the house, the car, save money. I started asking myself, what else did I want to do with my life? And this sort of questioning led me to my creative endeavors. And I have never felt more alive and fulfilled. Now, before you start working on your goals, my suggestion would be to truly look at whether your goals matter to you. They need to make sense only to one person, and that is you. Now, I guarantee this won't be easy. Your own self-doubts or external factors may hold you back from going after what you deeply desire. I want you to remind yourself that you weren't put on this earth only to be born, study, get a good job, pay your bills, and die one day. You, my friend, are a creative being, and you get to decide what creativity looks like for you. If your job and bills were taken care of and you were safe, what more would you like to do with your time here on earth? Is there a hobby that you would want to pursue? Maybe learn a new skill, learn a language, go to some foreign place. What would you do and would you choose it? Something that brings me immense encouragement are these words. At the end of life, you won't regret the things that you did, but most likely regret the things that you didn't do. And my friend, the pain of regret is far worse than the pain of failing at something. The question is, will you choose your goals? If you said yes, then it is time for step number 2, and that is, how do you work in a way that ends your struggle? Let's get one thing extremely clear. No one knows your life better than you. In my case, I don't have kids, so that gives me a lot more time than someone who may be having kids. Don't make the mistake of thinking that unless you do all these steps that I'm suggesting, you're somehow failing with your goals. I believe that kids or no kids, if you are feeling overwhelmed with your goals, there's always room for improvement. Because you, my friend, if you've decided to pursue your goals, it's now up to you to find a way to work on that goal. After all of us have the same 24 hours, and it's up to you to decide what you do with yours. So first things first, if you're not preparing to work on your goal, you are setting yourself up for disappointment. Hear me when I say this, that no matter how pressed for time you believe you are, if you are unable to carve out the time to work on your goals, then either your goals don't matter enough or you're simply bad at time management. And I think in most cases, it is the latter. In my professional experience, I've seen countless clients who tell me that they do want to work on other life goals, not just their career. I always start by asking them, how much time are they spending on their goals, daily, monthly, weekly, on a yearly basis? What's interesting to me is most of them have no clue. In the words of Tony Robbins, who says, you can't manage what you don't measure. You don't need to be a data nerd to track your progress, but it helps to have some sort of way of tracking your progress, either physically writing it down or keeping a track of it on your phone about the time that you're putting into your goals. When you start to track your efforts, it is going to encourage you in the times when you feel low or uninspired. Final part of tracking your efforts is when you work, forget the things that you think you need to do for a moment and go back to the reason why you started working on this particular goal. Why did you start? Unless you're being forced to work on this goal of yours, you should be enjoying yourself. So if you are not enjoying yourself, check if you're really working on what matters to you. The struggle is happening because you aren't tracking your progress or you're not working on goals that matter to you, or worse, if you're only working when you feel like working. Ask yourself, what is your unique way of working on goals? If you're wondering about this question, chances are you are not being strategic with your goals. If you work when you find the time or when you are in the mood, it's not going to give you the same results if you were being methodical with your approach. Here are 3 things that I do specifically to eliminate the struggle of working on my goals. Number 1, I ask myself, is this goal something that I want to do in this season of my life? This is different from wanting to do a lot of things. This frames your goals and gives it a sort of a priority, because you can do a lot of things, just not at the same time. So yes, you may want to get healthier, improve your relationships, get ahead in your career, while also learning new skills. It's all doable. but you have to assess where you are in your life and does it make sense to work on this goal right now. Remember, it's wise to take on something by taking out the time to think rather than taking on too much and being overwhelmed. So exercise your power of choice and choose what and how much can you handle. My pro tip here is less is always more. Choose something that will add more joy and peace in your already busy life. Second thing I do is before I do anything to achieve that goal, I assess my time like my life depends on it. More than money, it is your time that's more important. And when you start protecting your time as you would your money, you will find out that you will be able to find the time to work on what matters to you. Try it out for yourself. I create a routine that works for me while keeping my goal in the center of my life. Now, I know not everybody is a fan of creating routines, and it may even seem boring to you, but I've been creating fun routines for my personal and professional goals, and this has incredibly reduced struggle of any kind. In fact, following my routine brings me so much peace and joy. And I teach how to create a strategic routine for your specific life goals inside my Strategy for Consistency program. You can find the details of it in the description box below. The third thing I do is I decide what my end goal looks like. While working on my goals, I keep this at the heart and center of my life. I don't compare my goals and successes with someone else's. And when things do become difficult, I bring myself back to the vision of what my end goal looks like. Here's an example. When I started learning Spanish, the goal was to learn a few fun phrases. Then I moved on to getting an A1 level certification in the language. And then it moved on to being conversational in the language. Now, my next goal is to become fluent as a native speaker. Now, you see, the end goal is always being decided by me. I never lose sight of what I'm trying to accomplish. I choose to work every day by following my routine. And at the moment I feel overwhelmed, I remind myself that it's a goal that I decided to take on. No one is forcing me to work on this goal. And only thing I need to do is to work on this goal in a healthy way. And the final fourth thing, which may be unpopular, but I do, is I do my best to detach from this goal. I have a sense of what my end goal looks like. And of course, I want to do the best to achieve my goal. But years of struggling and obsessing over the end results has taught me that I can only decide to work on my goals and how I decide to work on my goals. But I don't have control over when or even if I will achieve my goal. And that isn't a passive way of approaching goals, but I think it is heart-centered in the fact that I am willing to be humble enough to know that I may get what I want or may not, but I believe and I'm willing to allow universe or the God force or my higher self to bring to me exactly what I want or better. I believe that if you give yourself this wriggle room to be open and flexible, you can achieve things much greater than what you initially could have imagined for yourself. Of course, this is the hardest thing to do. It is harder than any technical step you can take toward your goals, but it is also one which, in my opinion, has completely ended the struggle for me. When I just let go while also doing my best. I now focus on the joy of working on my goals rather than being obsessed about the final outcome. Now, if you're wondering how to put all of this into execution, you need to sit down with your goal and do the steps, because no amount of thinking or watching another video on YouTube is going to get you to move toward what you want. Irrespective of the goals that you're working on, I believe that struggling is an unnecessary ingredient and you can choose to work without getting overwhelmed. Remember, working on goals is hard enough. You don't want to put another layer and make things even more difficult by struggling to work on your goals. If this resonated with you, hit subscribe for weekly inspiration. Comment what's that one goal that you're currently struggling with. Tell me below. I want to know. If you need my help into making it simpler for you to stay on track with your life goals without getting overwhelmed, then you can sign up for a strategy consultation with me to make your life goals simpler. The link is mentioned below. And that does it for this week. Till next week, remember, your goals matter and it's really up to you to make them happen. Take good care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon.